So I'm in my aunt's place for the holiday, so I hope we don't. It's just a like in the last video, it's a change of background. I don't. There's no bookshelf here or something, so I just have to make do with this wall, which is my best. It's the nearest I am to like decent light. So yeah, please bear with it. I think by January we'll go back to our usual front of shelf videos. Hi there, my name is John and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today is our long overdue review of Normal People by Rooney, the internet's big breakout novel of the past few years. Like, this was everywhere, this went everywhere, like you could not breathe without seeing this on the internet, and it's still very present on the space, on booktube, bookstagram, everywhere at this time. But yeah, I wanted this so much in 2020 2021, when it was like making all the rounds. I wanted it, and I was very lucky to get it as a gift from a friend in the UK last year, because I had not seen it anywhere here and I knew it would be so expensive. So I got sent this along with like two other books, and the moment I got this, I'd been meaning to read it, but just posting it. But finally I just decided this year would be it, and I started it in November and finished it on the 1st of December. Sorry, I started it in October and I finished it on the 1st of December. And yeah, I have thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts about the novel, because I think it's a beloved novel. That's like the first thing that comes to mind. I just think it has developed this kind of following, that it has developed a certain following over the few years, especially with the TV show, which a lot of people like as well. So let's get into the review. Let's just get into the review. So Normal People spans a couple of years from high school into college, and we follow two people, Marianne and Cornell, who went to the same high school, and they grew up in a small town west of Ireland. And we see that they went to the same high school and they eventually go to the same college, but we follow them at the beginning from their final year in high school and up till like certain point in college, and we just really see it's about like the relationship between these two people to themselves, their relationship to the people around them, and their relationship to the world, really. And so at the beginning we see that they of course go to the same school, and we see that they do not really have like any relationship to each other when the novel begins. And we see that there's a very major difference between Marianne and Cornell. Marianne, who is more quiet to herself, she's not really liked by the people in the school. Then there's Cornell, who is very popular, he's on the football team, and he's very well liked by the people in the school. And then it's their final year of high school, and the only thing really when they are in high school that links them together is the fact that Cornell's mother works for Marianne's family, and so there's no really major relationship between the two of them when the novel begins, because of course there's this very popular high school thing where somebody who is ordered is like treated very poorly by the rest of the school, and it's just kind of transfers even whether a person wants it or not. So we see that when Marianne and Cornell maybe interacting in the events where Cornell goes to pick his mother from Marianne's home, it's just very little interactions, because of course Marianne is not really liked, and she really on her own does not put herself out there or talk to people. And Cornell, who is popular, I don't know, it just kind of like, I would say, rubs off on him in that sense. And we see that at the beginning, although they do not have any major connections to each other, or they do not really interact with each other at first, because of course of their different class in schools, the different places in which they fall, the popular and the other one. We see eventually they somehow get into this relationship that is really the crux of the novel, because this is what like is explored throughout the novel. Even in instances where they are together, whether they are not together, it's really entirely about these two people for the rest of the novel. And so it's like Rooney crafts this novel where like the two characters are from different social classes, because Marianne has more wealthy parents and Cornell, it's just like the popular jock in school who is like who is not from a rich family, has a single mother. And so it's just like the difference in their social classes. They have like, we see the difference in their class. In school it's a different case where Marianne is not popular, Cornell is popular. But outside school, like in real world setting, Marianne is from a rich family, Cornell is from a poor family. So it's how these two people from very distant social classes fall in love with each other. And it's now about, it's really, the rest of the novel just shows us how like their lives revolve around each other. And so we see that at the beginning there's just this quality the relationship takes that establishes like the nature of both characters. We eventually see Cornell, it's while he's like popular and all, is actually more soft, and there's more that is exposed about Marianne. Because if I think the best way we get to learn about these two characters is from each other, because we see Marianne really does not have any friends, so there's very little that we can get from Marianne in reference to other people. But we see Cornell, who mingles with more people, we see how he is around other people, we see his nature around friends. But it's when they strike this relationship that we get to learn more about, like we learn what Cornell's friends probably do not see from him or do not see in him, and what we would not have learned about Marianne we get to see because of like the unlikelihood of this relationship that they have developed with each other. And really the beginning of this relationship in high school is just a build up for what will take place throughout the novel, because before they graduate we see that there's this very different idea that they have of each other, and the nature of their class in school kind of affects the relationship, and we get this like up and down. It's kind of like a toxic relationship, but I think the insert of it at the beginning of the novel is very brilliant, because it's really just a setting stone for what we'll see for the rest of the novel, which is like toxic up and down relationship. For a moment, like we meet these characters as something else, but when they move to college, because Rooney uses like this time skips, she uses this monthly, like a couple of months will pass, that's how she passes time, which I think was actually quite nice. At first I did not really know what to think about it, because we'll always like find ourselves at, let's say we have this chapter, then a few months pass and the next chapter that comes is now, let's say we are in January, then we are in August, and we are now maybe finding out what happened in the in-betweens, which I really like. So we get the move after a couple of chapters from high school to college, and we see that the tables entirely turn, and the characters who we are introduced to, they become something else before our eyes. And I really think Rooney, at the point where like we get the transition into college, is where she achieves maybe her best character work in the novel, because we just see how instantly and how like easy it is for lives to change, how easy it is for tables to turn, because we get to see that Marianne now becomes more popular when they get to college, and Cornell is more like the recluse, is more like the one who is like no friends and more shielded and more secluded to himself. Whereas we know, coming from where they are coming from, Marianne really did not have anybody, and it's just the immediate switch. And I just think it's a very brilliant look at what happens like in the real world, and like this is the shift that their lives take, which is very true to what happens to people. Like it's that instance where we know you could know somebody from back in high school who like you, and you eventually end up in the same college, and they are like different people entirely, and that's like the case with Marianne and Cornell. And I think really like what she sells like their individuality. She really gives us very individual characters, and we see this best, like the individual nature of these characters, we see this best through like what becomes vital to each of them, like their interests, and even in reference to each of like the people that they meet, each of the friends they eventually, the friend groups they fall into that. And we see that she uses them to explore each other, because what we learn about, like the best things we learn, like I mentioned, that we learn about their personality is in their conversations, in their interactions with themselves or around themselves. That's like I think it's one of the best ways that she explores like human relationships in the novel, and how we learn people. I think one of the things I probably had an issue with at the beginning is that Rooney does not write with like destination in mind. Like we really did not know where we were going in terms of like let's say plot. It's not really a novel with plot. We are just going. It's like free sailing, free flowing, and we just go and go and go. And so there's like no destination in mind, because we are just, is in a way we're just seeing time pass, and we are just seeing like this life happening a long time. And so it's like, where was like the direction this novel was going to take? What were we going to get from it? There's like the general aimlessness. The story gets very, it's not like it's aimless, like it's really high school to college, so it's like daily life, daily living, which is lovely to see. But really, what is the intent? That's the thing, because the story has to have like an intent. There has to be a reason why. There has to be somewhere we are going. In fact, so there's something we are arriving at. There's something we are reading for. And so even though we are not always like knowing what to expect or knowing what we should expect, like there's something that we are expecting to get out of the novel, for Christ's sake, because it's like over 200 pages, which is a lot of time to offer to a book. So it's like, I think that was at the beginning, that was like one of my biggest questions, like where were we heading, where were we getting to, what was she looking at, what was she trying to say? I think that was one of my big questions at the beginning. And I think by the end, really, even till this day, I don't know if she really like answered like that question for me. So with the move from college to high school, we get to see like how they meet different people separate from themselves. We get to see them in different spaces. That's another way we get to see like see other sides to them, see other nature. Even Cornell loneliness, it's like another side to him we are seeing, because it's not like something that was very used to him back in high school. And Rooney sets like all these extra events around their lives, just like to like try the story, of course. And so eventually at a point we see that maybe when they get to college, they were not like really in contact, or really did not remember that they were in the same college, but eventually they somehow fall back into their relationship, and it kind of begins like this toxic cycle, which I think was that was the point of the novel, but really it was one of the most annoying things in the novel. It's by this like toxic cycle with Cornell too that we get to see like Rooney looks at like masochism in Marianne, very very heavy masochism. There's just this very great, I don't know if to say imbalance in her and Cornell's relationship, and like the way their love, the shape their love takes, really, because we just see that she's more of like a will do anything for him, and while he really likes her, there's just this strange nature to their relationship. I think like for Marianne, there's a lot of things unsaid with her masochism and her behavior, and there are parts of it, let's say, tied to her family, because they are like different points in the novel, whereby from way in high school even up to college, we see that Marianne is very estranged with her family, and we see that there's just this very toxic relationship she has in her family, which in a way it's kind of like leads to the kind of toxic relationship she eventually has with people. But I think the way she really tries to examine this masochism in a way is what I don't know how it does not really settle for me, because while we get it with like maybe the people, the men she gets in relationships with, but like on her family's part, we just get these very grating instances, grating interactions, and very awful treatment from her mom, because her mom is the only one around to get, and her brother, and like it's not unusual treatment. It's not like it does not make sense that okay, this will happen to somebody. It's, I think, what does not sit with me, and why I really disliked it in the story, not dislike, but why I don't think like it did much, was because I did not understand what it was really trying to serve. And in a way, Rooney tries to use it to explain Marianne's masochism, but I don't really think it works, because there's just so much that is unsaid, and there are points where there are points where she incorporates like things to, let's say, serve this idea of Marianne's masochism, the way she craves like toxic relationship. And there's this insert of a very odd relationship she has with a person that I don't know. I just felt that was like the oddest one because it just felt like a placeholder. It was just like throw it in, and okay, we see Marianne likes like to be humiliated. Marianne likes to be treated very, very awfully, and maybe she gets something out of it. But I think there are just instances where they do not do as much as Rooney thinks they do. That in a way, I don't feel that they explain her character enough. They serve to maybe help us see, okay, this is what she likes. We get to see what she likes, but I think Rooney does a lot of that, where we get to see things. We get to and she achieves like the daily living, the idea of like very normal interactions with people, how normal our relationships in real world are. I think she does that excellently, but I think there are things that she puts in that there's why behind everything. Sometimes I don't think she even attempts to explain it at all. It's just like, okay, we should understand, but there are a lot of whys that come up in reference to like the behavior of these characters that I don't always think that she explains very well, or that the explanation she gives are like fitting for the behaviors. With Cornell, at when they move from college to high school, there's just a look at how, okay, there's this change in status, and how very different it's like, in a way, quote unquote, moving like from, let's say, high school is more like playing, it's more a, should I say, it's a playing field. It's more like let's say, it's the baby games, it's the little games, and college is like big games, real world. And we see that, it's just kind of this like rude awakening for him, which I really like that insert in the story. I just think it's fun. I think there are points where Rooney really does great work with like the examination of what happens like in life, how these things affect us, how like we reckon with these changes when they come to us. I think it's very fitting that the novel is called Normal People, because we are indeed looking at normal people, and they are like supporting characters sprinkled in, but they are just put them more to serve like these two lead characters, because supporting characters are usually often like friends of Marianne or friends of Cornell. And I think in a way I would just prefer that it had been that most of it throughout. One of the major issues I had with the novel was just like not really Rooney's writing style, but just the force of the writing style. It just felt, I don't like calling things pretentious, but it really felt pretentious with the way like she tried to make these characters think too much. On one hand, it felt very organic to Marianne, who was into like, I think, history or something. She does it with Cornell, she does it with both of them, but while it's organic to Marianne, it's quite inauthentic with Cornell, and just feels like it's like see-through. Like, I can just tell that that's not it. In the way he talks, in just even the thoughts he has, it's just like there's this added force on the thinking process that it's just like, why? It's not even like, do people think like this? It just feels so off-putting with the way she does it with his character. Especially, it's just this constant need to like assess their life, which, like I said, it's very things that are very true to human nature, but in a way I think it's my up and down with the novel, because there are points where, okay, you understand what it serves to the story, but on other points you are just like, you can see that she really wants it to serve something to the story. It just felt too baked and too cooked. I did feel like there's just this very like breezy, in a way, I don't want to use the word empty, but there was just this quality it took. That's the entire novel itself, where it was just going, and you are just going with it. And really, like, when we get to the end, it's like, it's not really a what did I get from it situation. It's just like, okay, it's done. And the entirety of it was just like about, okay, these two people's messy up and down relationship, then but at the end, really, what has been said. And it's no spoilers, but I actually very disliked the end. I disliked the end of the novel so much, because it just threw me off. It did not do anything. It just felt like, okay, this is it, and we have been given nothing. I think Rooney does a great job with some character examination with the way she looks at the world. I think she does a very great job on some points with that, and I think she very much knows how to write individual characters, which I always think is necessary to enjoying the story. But at the same time, I just think that there was just a lot that was either forced onto the story or enough not said, enough not done. We are used to the mundane novel, nothing happening, but there always the idea of this. I've always said that the idea of this kind of art is that by the end of it, at least something has to have been said, and I think that's what I really did not love about the novel, because I did not get what had been said. We can say it's okay looking at the lives of normal people, but really I always think, I think a novel should always say something. It's a personal, I don't know, it's something people might not agree with. I'm not you don't have to tell me the grandest thing, but the idea is that you have a point, and I'm not saying there's no point to the novel really, but I'm just saying that there's just something that by the end of it, something has to have dropped in you, at least, even the barest. And I think that's what I'm just so conflicted on my feelings with the novel, because I just felt yes, I got the point of it, but nothing dropped at the same time. But I did not hate it, and I did not love it. I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars by the end. But yeah, I finally read it, and it's just waiting to read this novel so much. I did not know if I would like it or not. I already had an idea I might not have liked it, because my friend Lana read Conversation with Friends and did this very long rant review, which is funny, so funny. But I saw quotes from that book, and I just knew that was where I did see the pretentiousness to Rooney's writing, and you can see it heavily in this book as well. But I did not. I was okay, I would not do that one, I would do this one rather. And I did this one, and now I don't know. It was just I read it, and I don't know how to feel, because really I don't think it did an extreme much for me, although it was not it did not suck. That I think I can say it did not suck at all. It was just more play. That's how I felt about Normal People. Yeah, I know it's a beloved novel, but I don't know, I would like to know your thoughts on it, and maybe on the review and what I said, and if you have any conflicting opinions, if you have maybe anything I would like to actually really know what you enjoyed about the novel, for those who enjoyed it, and for those who disliked it, what they disliked in the novel as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, like and share. And I can just say that for the entirety of this video, I have been sweaty, I have been so tired, and I just did not know how to piece together my thoughts. But I just hope it's something that as I go along with, I do better. And so yeah, I thank you very much for watching this review, and bye.